Everyone hated Icebox when it came out. Well, people still hate it. Everyone hated Breeze when it came out, and some people still hate it, which only means that everyone's going to hate Fracture, right? Well, it sure seems like it. And for the most part, all across social media, all I see are pros and casual fans just bash on the map. But why though? Is it a bad map? Well, not necessarily. It's just that it's so different from other maps, and different doesn't always mean better. Fracture compared to other maps has so many avenues for attack, you can pinch your site so easily that it really isn't viable to play on site. And on defense, if one person goes down, the round is almost basically over. Because now the attacking team has so many avenues of attack, they can fake rotates, they can do basically whatever they want. The fact that the attacking team has so many easy access points to defenders spawn makes rotating a nightmare, especially when no one is working together and no one really knows how to play the map. And that's what we're going to go over today. Why do people really hate Fracture? So before we can actually figure out why people hate this map, let's discuss how this map is so different from others. Let's compare Ascent and Fracture, and this may be a little silly, but on Ascent, these are the areas you can play on defense, and these typically aren't. These areas are places that you can safely set up crossfires, do little crazy setups, and you don't really have to worry about anybody pinching you from anywhere else. But on Fracture, these are the areas you can play pretty safely, and these aren't. Okay, so notice how like 90% of the map isn't safe to play on? That's because, let's say you're playing under A site and the enemy is pinching you from both dish and A main, odds are that you're probably going to get traded or overwhelmed with utility and just die. So if you can't really play anywhere safely besides in your spawn, what should you do? Just let the attackers take sites and just play full retake? Well, no, you need to take space so that you have some to play in. As a basic example, let's say that the enemy is splitting A like I said before. You want to clear out this A main area and try to take it so that the only spot the enemies can really push from is drop, thus making it very awkward for attackers to take the site. But now you're probably thinking, well Teets, what if they go B instead? Okay, well then that's perfect. You now have a decent flank on the enemy and you can communicate to your team so that they can play passive enough to capitalize off of your lurk. And when you know an enemy isn't pushing an area, it's a lot easier to defend each site now. Now, before we get into the rest of the guide, I just want to say that if you're looking for guides for other maps, we have those as well at SkillCapped. We have Smurf commentaries where Radiant level players talk you through their games and show you how to play in higher ranked games more effectively. Or maybe if you wanted to learn how to run a default, a specific agent, or just how to get better, we can help you with that too. We also have a rank improvement guarantee, so if you don't see your rank improving, you'll get your money back. But there's literally so much value here, I find it hard that you won't improve. If you're looking for the fastest way to climb a Valorant, be sure to check out SkillCapped.com, link in the description below. So we just talked about taking space, and now I want to talk about something that I think people don't really understand, is where you should be playing on defense, and the areas you should be taking on offense. We've talked about this in our Fracture map guide, so if you haven't watched that, I highly recommend that you watch that video before the rest of this one. So the most important parts of the map are going to be in ropes and tower. If you have control of ropes, you control the quickest way that enemies can rotate to the site, and arguably the easiest way to retake the sites from. And with tower control, you can play from arguably the hardest part to re-clear for defenders, and it's an amazing spot to play in the post plant. So when attacking each site, you want to focus on these two main parts. And if that's not working for you, please use the ropes. Literally, I never see anybody use them. If you're having trouble taking one part of the map, you can literally just teleport, basically go across to the opposite side of the map without the enemy team knowing. And in case you guys didn't know, defenders cannot hear the ropes from their spawn. So if you want to send the enemies on a wild goose chase, use them a lot. And then once you start using them a ton, you can even cut noise and re-hit sites after you've conditioned the enemy team that you like using the ropes to rotate. Now, if you're having trouble with defense, which most of you should because this is a pretty T-sided map, you're going to want to focus heavily on map control. And you know what's funny about this concept of map control is that this same concept applies to almost every map. Let's take a look at Haven, for example. Let's also say that you're playing Phoenix in Garage and you're ready to pop flash. Your teammates call that there's a lot of pressure towards A main and they see about 3 to 4 people. What do you think you should do? A, instantly rotate to A to help your team. B, push out mid and take garden control. Or C, yell at your teammates for throwing your elo even though that you only have 2 more kills than them and they've all been non-impact frags when your whole team is dead. While option A isn't that bad of an idea, B is definitely the better option. Naturally, your B main player should be the first one over, so that gives you 3 players all in defensive positions, probably armed with mollies or utility to stop said pushes. So if your teammates do delay and stop the push, you're behind them in garden or mid window, ready to tell your teammates when they're falling back. Then your teammates can stop stacking A and reset the defense across the map. Plus, you're probably going to catch a couple people off guard, which could get you a pretty easy 1 or 2 kills. Another example, let's say that you're playing on Ascent, and this time that you have a Jet on your team that is peeking every round out of B main with her op and isn't seeing anything. Well, if she's not seeing anything out of B main, your team can start stacking the A side. Think about it, if the attackers aren't taking the space in B main, why not take it and use it as information as to where they can be? So like I said, if they aren't in B main, they gotta be mid or they gotta be A main. And obviously this applies to every map, even Fracture. So now you get the right idea of taking space, so now let's apply this to Fracture. A couple really good agents that are basically built for this map are Breach and KO. Breach's entire identity is basically lane control. Take a look at the map. There are so many lanes that you can stun and your teammates can capitalize on. It's almost like this map was designed for him. And Breach's kit allows you to keep control of these lanes and allows you to clear out the areas of the map with ease with his flashes and his Sea Blast. Once these areas are clear, you can now get ready for a push from the others, and you know exactly where the enemy is coming from. Okay, so I know I'm using a lot of examples, but I think they're really important to understand this map. Bear with me. So let's say you have a team composition of a Jet and a Raze, a Breach, a Cypher, and some form of smoke character, let's just say Omen. If you have your Breach and your Raze playing towards B main, you can say to your Raze, hey, I'm going to stun this, I want you to satchel out and take this space. Let's say Jet is towards the other side of V site, and she's opting. By you guys taking that space out of Arcade, it's going to tell your team a lot of information. If they're not there, they're probably going A, and if they are there, they're either trying to pinch the B site, or they're all coming from that area. With that information, your air players can start clearing out their areas a lot more safely, and Jet can get ready to shoot somebody with her op. And this same thing applies to KO. His flashes are really great in this map, as you can flash over certain walls to push out early and gain easy map control. His knife is great for information as well, and you can clear out areas of the map pretty early. And if his knife doesn't see anyone, you can decide to take that part for your team. Alright, let's go back to Breach for a second. Here's a good few stun spots that'll get you a ton of map control, and you can stun almost literally anywhere. Like look, these spots are pretty awesome to stun because as the barrier goes down, the enemy basically walks into it, and your Jet and Raze are going to get pretty free kills, and you're going to win, and you're going to feel pretty happy. And if you're playing agents like Raze and Jet, you need to tell your support players what you want from them. And if you have a Breach on your team and your Raze, for example, ask him to stun rope so you can satchel in and gain that map control and cut off rotates. And at the same time, your team needs to be pushing from dish so that you guys can pinch the site. And then this is sort of where communication comes into major play here. So you got the sick Breach stuns, you got the demon KO pop flashes, now it's time to put it all together. The biggest issue that I think people have with Fracture is the lack of communication, and this map requires a ton if you want to win. If you want to push an area, you're going to need to come up with some plan for your team, and without talking, that's going to be near impossible to do. Especially when the enemy can do so many different things. You really need to talk about what you see and what you hear. So if you haven't figured it out by now, Fracture is basically a big cat and mouse map. If you're attacking and you're getting pushed, you need to tell your team so they can rotate to spots where defenders aren't pushing you. You give up map control to gain other map control, and that's how this map works. It's funny because it's similar to every other map in that aspect, but because of the shape of the map, nobody really seems to get it. One last time, let's talk examples. Let's say you want to pinch the A site successfully, you get through A main and you get to site, but your teammates from dish are getting pushed on. It's your job to pinch those guys with your teammates, or your teammates need to get out of there and take the zipline away so you guys can go hit B. All of this makes sense, right? Like, this doesn't sound like anything groundbreaking. The main thing is that all of this requires a ton of communication, and without it, your team is going to be really lost. So all in all, I believe that the team with the better teamwork and better understanding of the map usually wins the game. So, this was all just one in-depth guide that we have on our website though. Also, if you want your chance at having your VOD reviewed, be sure to subscribe on our website at SkillCapped.com. We also have tons of Radiant Smurf commentaries where we have Radiant level players walking through exactly how you should be playing on every map, and they're super helpful to see in real time what goes through a top tier player's head. As we mentioned before, it's also backed by a rank improvement guarantee, and the reason we do that is because we are just that confident that our service works. And if it doesn't work, you shouldn't pay. So what are you waiting for? You've got nothing to lose. Head on over to SkillCapped.com and get started in your way to that rank that you deserve. So I hope this video helped you guys recognize how Fracture should be played and make it a little less frustrating. It honestly can be really annoying not having teammates who know what they're doing, and it makes it even worse, especially when they're not talking. But as always, if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel down below. It really does help us out. And that's all for us. I'm Teets, and we here at SkillCapped want to thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.